So yun no, magandang araw mga kapulso. Matagal-tagal din tayong hindi nakapag-upload. Gawa ng marami po tayong mga inasikaso at ngayon sisikapin po nating makapag-upload ng mga bagong balita dito sa ating minamahal na bansa. Ngunit kung bago kayo sa ating channel, huwag niyong kalimutang mag-like, click the notification bell at mag-subscribe. So yun no, tatalakayin natin ngayon, papanoorin natin. Excuse me. Ang papanoorin po natin ngayon ay about sa impeachment na in-archive ng Senate. So ito.
In-archive ng Senado ang impeachment case laban kay Vice President Sara Duterte kasunod ng pasya ng Korte Suprema na ito ay unconstitutional.
With 19 affirmative votes, 4 negative votes, 1 abstention, the motion to move to transfer the articles of impeachment in relation to case number 002-2011 entitled In the Matter of the Impeachment Trial of Vice President Sara Zimmerman Duterte to the archives, the same is hereby approved.
Ang mga pumabor sa archive sa impeachment ay sina Senate President Chisa Escudero, Senador Alan Peter at Pia Cayetano, Bato de la Rosa, JB Ejercito at Jinggoy Estrada, pati sina Senator Win Gatchalian, Bongo, Lito Lapid, Loren Legarda, Rodante Marcoleta, Erwin at Rafi Tulfo. Gayun din sina Senador Amy Marcos, Robin Padilla, Joel Villanueva, Mark at Camille Villar at Migs Subiri. Tutol naman sina Senate Minority Leader Tito Soto, kasama sina Senador Bam Aquino, Riza Ontiveros at Kiko Pangilinan. Nag-abstain naman si Senador Ping Lacson.
Para naman sa defense team ni Vice President Sara Duterte, masyado pang maagang sabihin na tapos na ang impeachment case laban sa bise.
We have always maintained our position na talaga namang unconstitutional itong fourth impeachment complaint na naging articles of impeachment.
But do you believe, Attorney, that the impeachment case is now dead?
I think it's too early to say kasi nga may MR pa and we don't want to preempt the decision of the Supreme Court on the motion for reconsideration.
Ay kay Attorney Michael Powa na isa sa mga abogado ng bise, mas nakatutok sila ngayon sa apela ng Kamara na baligtarin ang naunang pasya ng Korte Suprema kaugnay sa Articles of Impeachment. Magsusubiti raw sila ng komento sa loob ng 10 araw na itinakda ng Korte. Patuloy raw i-monitor ng defense team ang mga development at tutugon para ipagtanggol ang karapatan ng bise.
Hindi pa raw
So yun no. Ang next naman na ipi-play natin yung kung paano yun explain ng isang lawyer kung bakit in-archive ng Senate, no? Kung paano in-archive ng Senate yun. Tapos, i-explain niya din kung ano yung mga bagong procedures at saka may mga bagong dinagdag ang Supreme Court na law, no?
Okay, so good evening po sa lahat ng mahilig magluto. Okay, kasi paulit-ulit si Senator Marcoleta tonight na lutuin daw ng maayos eh. So anyway po, this video po is all about the most recent Senate session or Senate hearing regarding po the impeachment complaint filed against Vice President Sara Duterte kung saan dinesisyonan po nila na i-archive na yung 4th articles of impeachment kasi it is unconstitutional as per the Supreme Court decision. Okay, so hindi ko na po ipi-play isa-isa yung mga statements dito ng mga senators natin. Rather, ang gagawin ko na lang po para mas maayos at mas dire-diretso po yung usapan natin, magdi-discuss po ako ng mga bagay-bagay na tingin ko nakulangan sa explanation or sa pagpukpuk po ng mga senators natin. Okay? So yan po yung magiging video natin for tonight. Okay? Lulutuin po natin ng maayos para maintindihan nyo po talaga, my fellow taong bayan, itong mga e-explain ko. Okay, so ito po yung una-una, klaruhin muna natin kung ano ba talaga yung procedure sa Supreme Court para po magkaintindihan talaga tayo kasi dito nagkakaroon ng issue yung mga senators natin kanina kasi dahil daw sa pending MR despite the immediately executory, wag daw muna i-archive. Tapos yung kabila sinasabi immediately executory, so i-archive na despite the pendency of the MR. So ngayon i-explain ko po sa inyo kung ano ba talaga yung procedure sa Supreme Court para mas magets nyo po talaga at mas maliwanagan po kayo. Okay, so after ko po po i-explain to, kayo na lang bahala mag-conclude kung sino ba talaga sa kanila yung tama. Kasi kung titingnan naman po natin yung rules of procedure niyan, makikita natin dyan ngayon kung ano ba talaga yung dapat na sundin or yung mga dapat mangyari po in relation to mga Supreme Court decided cases. Okay? So unang-una po, makikita natin to sa Rule 56 of the Rules of Court. So as you can see here, procedure in the Supreme Court, Rule 56, letter A, original cases, or letter B, appealed cases. So first question dyan, saan dito papasok yung case ni VP Sara? Is it letter A or letter B? So dito pa lang po, di ba, makikita nyo, very confusing na kasi Supreme Court to, pero bakit may ganito pa na original versus appealed? Di ba? So yung case po ni Vice President Sara Duterte was a case where she filed po a petition for certiorari or a special civil action po yun. So in other words, dito po yan papasok sa original cases. So dito po yan papasok sa original cases kasi yung special civil action for certiorari po, that is an original petition na fina-file directly sa Supreme Court. Hindi po yan appeal. Ito kasing appeal, ito yung galing pa sa lower court, tas tumaas sa RTC, tumaas sa CA hanggang umabot sa Supreme Court. Okay? So anyway, balik po tayo. Dito tayo papasok. Ngayon, Rule 56, letter A, original cases. Okay? Tapos ang important po na iti-take note natin dito is Section 2, Rules Applicable. So the procedure in original cases for certiorari shall be in accordance with the applicable provisions of the Constitution. So of course, this one is Article 8, Section 1, Paragraph 2, yung absolute power of judicial review, subject to the only requirement na may grave abuse of discretion. Okay? Tapos aside from that, sabi pa po, laws and rules 46, 48, 49, 51, 52, and this rule, subject to the following provision, so on and so forth. So basahin nyo lang po itong iba kung gusto nyo pa. Pero yung pinaka-important po natin iti-take note dito is itong Rule 52. Okay? So ngayon, punta po tayo sa Rule 52 naman. So Rule 52 basically governs po motions for reconsideration. So again, may kita po niyo dito, 'di ba? Rule 56 letter A section 2, rules applicable includes 52. Therefore, ang point ko po doon, pwede mag-motion for reconsideration sa mga Supreme Court decided cases. Okay? So ngayon, this is the interesting part kasi dito talaga nagkagulo yung mga senators natin eh. So una-una tingnan natin ano ba yung general rule in relation to motions for reconsideration. So makita po natin yan section 4. Okay? So this one is in relation sa mga pag-execute ng judgments. It states here po, Section 4, stay of execution. The pendency of a motion for reconsideration filed on time and by the proper party shall stay the execution of the judgment or final resolution sought to be reconsidered. Okay, so ito yung general rule. So ngayon, baka isipin nyo, tama sila Senator Kiko kasi may Section 4, stay of execution. Okay, so tandaan po ninyo, ito yung general rule pag yung decision po ng Supreme Court ay walang mga special provisions like that of yung being immediately executory. Okay? Kasi generally, yung mga judgments po, they only become executory after the lapse po of the period na pwede ka pa mag-exercise ng mga legal remedies mo. So in a regular Supreme Court decision, kung walang special provision na immediately executory, pag nag-file po ng MR yung losing party, dito papasok to ngayon yung Section 4 stay of execution. Okay? Pero yun nga po, since dun sa Supreme Court decision sa Duterte versus HOR, merong specific na sinabi yung Supreme Court na immediately executory yung decision. Therefore, ito pong general rule na to, hindi po siya a-apply na. Okay? So yung case po ng Duterte versus HOR, that is an exception to this general rule. So anyway, i-rephrase ko po para mas maintindihan ninyo. In regular cases po, kung walang special provisions na immediately executory, pag nag-MR ang natalo, automatic suspended muna, hindi pwede execute. Pero kung may specific provision that states immediately executory, kahit pa po mag-MR yung natalo, pwede na ma-execute yung judgment or yung decision ng kaso na yon. Okay, yan po yung difference dun sa Duterte versus HOR case from regular cases kung saan ito nga yung mag-a-apply na Section 4 stay of execution. Okay? So sa executory judgment po, if a case is declared as executory by the court, that means pwede na nila ma-execute yung judgment. Whereas naman po pag final yung case, ang ibig sabihin po nun, final na yung kaso, meaning wala nang any other legal remedy po na pwede magawa yung losing party. Okay, so yan po yung difference nun. Kaka-problema lang po yan kasi generally, yung final and executory, pinapagsama po yan in a regular decision. It will become final and executory after the lapse of let's say 15 days, 30 days, so on and so forth. Pero dito kasi sa case ni Vice President Sara Duterte dun sa Duterte versus HOR, sineparate po nila na immediately executory lang pero wala pang final kasi hindi pa naman po siya magiging final talaga considering pwede pa nga mag-MR as provided po dito sa Rule 52. Kung makikita po ninyo Section 1 period for filing, a party may file a motion for reconsideration of a judgment or final resolution within 15 days from notice. Diba? So meron pa talagang remedy naman na pwede mag-MR. However, since there is a specific provision which states it is immediately executory, pwede na talaga ma-execute yung judgment na yun. Yun nga yung exception to the general rule nitong Section 4. Okay, so hopefully klaro na po yan. So medyo technical po yung in-explain ko pero sana na intindihan nyo naman talaga yung difference ng final judgment, executory judgment in relation to mga motions for reconsideration. Okay?
Ganun pala yun, no? So, hindi pala, may mga talaga siya. May exemption or may mga iba-ibang rules. Depende sa, siya, no?
Okay, so kung ako po tatanungin, hindi po nawalan ng jurisdiction yung Senate over impeachment cases kasi that is expressly provided by the Constitution. The Supreme Court decision did not remove that power po from the Senate. Klaro pa rin naman po yun eh. Ang gusto lang po talaga mangyari ng Supreme Court is sundin kung ano yung mga procedural matters na dapat talaga na sundin as per the Constitution, which is yung 10 session day requirement and the 3 session day requirement in relation po dun sa pag-file ng mga verified impeachment complaints. In other words, hindi dapat kayo gumawa ng provision or ng rule kung saan pwede nyo ma-dribble nga yung provisions sa yung mga direct and express constitutional provisions. Yan po talaga yung pinaka-essence naman ng Supreme Court decision. Okay? And kung mapansin po ninyo, medyo paulit-ulit na tayo dito sa discussion na to. I have been discussing this way back itong principle na to. Pero yun nga po, yun kasi rin yung paulit-ulit na ginagamit na argument against the Supreme Court. And if we also look at it further, di ba, even the Supreme Court even asked the House of Representatives to fully explain ano ba yung nangyaring procedure pero hindi sila nag-explain kasi as per them it is more or less a political question daw so dapat daw hindi nila sagutin. So because of that, dun ngayon nagka-issue yung House of Representatives kasi yung Supreme Court nag-decide sila based on the facts na meron na sila kasi ayaw na magbigay ng facts ng House of Representatives dun eh. So from that situation po, we can reasonably say na meron ding lapses yung House of Representatives dito kasi when they were given a chance to explain themselves further, hindi nila ginawa yun, di ba? Until nag-decide na yung Supreme Court, naglabas sila ng immediately executory decision tapos ngayon bigla silang nag-motion for reconsideration. Pero anyway,
Pero ang galing, no? So, binigyan na ng chance na mag-explain at saka hindi nila pinasa. So, ngayon, reklamo sila.
yun lang po yung gusto ko i-discuss talaga doon. Hindi nawalan ng jurisdiction yung Senate because the Supreme Court decision did not touch on that matter. Plus the mere fact po na yung sole power to try and decide is given exclusively to the Senate by the Constitution po natin. Okay, yung Supreme Court dito, ginawa lang po nila yung power of judicial review, kinlarify nila na dapat sundin yung mga rules of procedure as expressly provided po by the Constitution. Yun lang po talaga yung essence naman ng Supreme Court decision. When we say sole power to try and decide, that means deciding on the merits of the case. Yung ginawa naman ng Supreme Court dito, they did not decide on the merits. They only decided or touched on the constitutionality or the unconstitutionality dun po sa procedure na ginawa ng House of Representatives. Yung procedural matters po, that is a completely and totally different from the substantive aspect of a case. Okay? Yan lang din po gusto ko klaruhin kasi in lawyering po kasi there are two types of legal matters po, technical or procedural matters and substantive matters po. When you say substantive matters, ito na ngayon yung pinakalaman po talaga ng isang kaso kung whether or not guilty or not guilty po ba ang isang akusado. Okay? Whereas naman po yung technical matters, it touches on kung whether or not nasunod ba yung procedure dun sa pag-acquire and exercise ng jurisdiction of the court. So more or less po yan yung simplest way for me na ma-differentiate ko po yan. And in the eyes po kasi of an ordinary person, pag makakita po kayo ng Supreme Court decision, baka akala nyo that is already fully deciding on the merits. Hindi po yan ganyan. Supreme Court decisions, even regular court decisions, first level court decisions, sometimes they decide only on technical matters without deciding on the substance, diba? And as a general rule, even in civil and criminal cases, kung ma-dismiss po on a technicality without prejudice po yan most of the time, meaning pwede pa rin po yan i-refile. Even in criminal cases, ganyan po yan as long as wala pang double jeopardy. So more or less, yan lang din po yung in-apply dito ng Supreme Court sa impeachment proceeding. Okay? So hopefully klaro din po yan. Tapos ito po, i-discuss naman natin yung mali ni Senator Marcoleta at Senator Cayetano. So yun no. Ito maganda to. Pakinggan nyo kasi may mga
may mga bagong batas pala ngayon na hindi updated si Senator Marcoleta at saka si Alan Peter. So, ayun. Explain ni Attorney Nid.
Ito po, malalamangan ko silang dalawa dito because there was a portion of this hearing po kung saan they were discussing dun sa prosecutor level or sa preliminary investigation regarding quantum of evidence. Yung dinidiscuss po nila dun is probable cause, which means that there was a crime committed and that the accused is probably guilty of said crime. Yun po yung probable cause kasi. So yun yung dinidiscuss nila dito kasi yun po yung requirement or yung evidentiary requirement in the old law po natin. Pero hindi na po yun yung batas ngayon since last year lang po yan na-implement 2024. So currently po ang requirement na sa prosecution level, sa preliminary investigation level is prima facie evidence with reasonable certainty of conviction. Mas tinaasan na po nila, hindi lang simply probable cause para makafile po ng isang criminal information. So yan, gusto ko lang po yan i-bring up din kasi nalamangan ko dito sila Senator Marcoleta at Senator Cayetano eh. But anyway, it was actually very nice to see them discuss din yung probable cause because that is also one of the most basic principles po na dinidiscuss din sa criminal procedure. Okay? So kung ako po tatanungin, yung pag-archive po actually dito ng Senate, that is the best approach na pwede nila magawa considering may pending pa na motion for reconsideration dun sa Supreme Court. Kasi pag-archive, pwede pa naman nila buhayin yun later on assuming magbago yung decision ng Supreme Court. So kung dun po makita ninyo, this is fair to the people, to the taong bayan who wants to hold the Vice President, the impeachable officer accountable. And this also protects the right to due process ni VP Sara kasi pending the final resolution of the Supreme Court, hindi muna nila gagalawin yung impeachment case, diba? Kasi currently yung status naman unconstitutional tapos immediately executory. Pwede na nga nila actually yun i-enforce kasi yun nga immediately executory na eh, diba? Like what I explained earlier, hindi na po yun maapektuhan kahit pa may pending MR. Pero yung ginawa nila dito, in-archive na lang nila para yun nga, kung mag-overrule man, ma-overturn yung decision ng Supreme Court, eh pwede pa rin nila kuhain at buhayin ulit yung case. So this is
So, ayun. Alam nyo, expect naman ni VP Sara na magpa-file ulit yung bubuhayin ulit yung pag-impeach sa kanya kasi nung pa lang hindi ko alam kung anong video yung napanood ko na yun, sinabi niya na it's too early, parang ganon, or na parang hindi ako nag-expect na ibabasura na yung mga yung pag-impeach sa kanya.
It's actually a very good and fair action po on the side of the Senate if you ask me. Okay, so it appears lang dun sa mga pro-impeachment yung gusto ma-convict talaga na medyo alanganin kasi na-archive. Pero actually currently yung mga pro-impeachment, talo na nga po kayo sa kaso kasi yung decision is unconstitutional, diba? Plus immediately executory. Regardless, ginawa nila dito, in-archive pa rin nila pending the MR. Pero like what I explained, hindi na nga sana kailangan antayin yung MR, diba? Kasi yun nga, immediately executory na. But despite all of that, the Senate still decided to archive to protect both parties in the case po dun sa in favor of impeachment and against impeachment. Okay, so again, this is actually a very good and fair decision on the part of the Senate if you ask me. Kasi kung i-dismiss, tama nga naman na may pending MR pa, diba? So pwede pa ma-overturn yun despite the immediately executory provision kasi hindi pa nga po final, diba? Like what I explained earlier. And in relation to the impeachable officer, to Vice President Sara Duterte, fair din yun sa kanya kasi habang naka-archive, wala namang any impeachment trial na magpo-proceed pa. Okay? Sasabi ko lang talaga na maging objective and critical observers po talaga tayo as the Filipino people, as the taong bayan kasi madami po talagang mga tao na they try to hide it in the guise of parang legal arguments, legal statements, pero in reality they are actually political speeches where they are trying to influence you to believe their political ideologies or positions nila politically. Okay? So
yun, tama yun. Huwag tayong magiging sarado sa lahat. Syempre dapat doon lang tayo sa pantay. Natin, i-balance natin kung ano yung tama, doon tayo.
ko rin po na you can say the same for me kasi yung mga ayaw sa akin laging sinasabi na ano daw yan, legal educational video pero political naman daw talaga. Pero regardless if that is your opinion of me, wala po akong problema doon, but every time I explain naman dito sa videos ko, I have always given my legal basis clearly, diba? Like kanina nung in-explain ko yung difference nung executory, final judgment, motions for reconsideration, I cited specifically the rules of court. Unlike po yung mga iilang politicians natin, they make statements out of thin air basically, diba? ba? Tapos they make it appear na yun yung tama legally. Pero if you actually really dissect the legal side of things, the legal aspect of that statement, medyo may inconsistencies po yun. Tapos doon makikita natin, mahuhukay nyo na it is actually a political speech in the guise of a legal explanation. Okay, so yan lang po yung reminder ko talaga sa inyo, to the taong bayan, na maging mindful po talaga tayo, maging objective and critical observance po ng mga public figures natin, para hindi po tayo, in the simplest way I can say it, hindi po tayo mauto-uto lang ba, 'di ba? In other words po, like what I have advised all of you in my past couple of videos, wag po tayo maging political fanatics, wag po tayo mabulag sa mga political ideologies. Kung hindi, dapat po maging objective and critical observers po talaga tayo. Okay, so kung napansin nyo, medyo paulit-ulit na po yung dinidiscuss natin, pero yun din kasi paulit-ulit din tong mga senators natin, di ba? Because at the end of the day, they have their own arguments, their positions. So kung mapansin po ninyo ako, mas similar yung position ko with eto kala Senator Joel, kala Senator Cheese, basically the Duterte block, kaya nagiging ano tayo, quote-unquote TDS lawyer. But like what I've explained already, I've always cited my legal basis. And again, kahit nga po dun sa ano, yung pinapa-answer yung HOR, di ba, na video ko, medyo kinampihan ko yung HOR dun regarding some aspects of their argument, because back then wala pa kasi talaga, or hindi pinupukpok masyado ng Supreme Court yung due process or Bill of Rights side of things, more on sa political nature yung impeachment dati. Pero like what I've also explained, since the Supreme Court has laid down new procedural matters ngayon, pwede yun siya i-apply retroactively or to pending cases, kasi ganun po yung general rule ng mga procedural rules. Okay, so kung gusto nyo po mapanood yan, kung saan in-explain ko yun, ilalagay ko na lang po yan dito sa gilid ng mukha ko. Pero for today po, hanggang dyan lang muna yung discussion natin. Hopefully klaro yun. If you like more legal videos, subscribe lang po kayo para maging aware po kayo kung may bago tayong upload. And until next time, see you all. Bye-bye! Okay, so
You know, ang galing. Thank you, Attorney Neil, sa knowledge na sinishare mo sa amin. Maraming salamat po. Pero syempre, mga kababayan, be observant na lang po sa mga ano. Kasi sa panahon ngayon, maraming mga politicians at saka mga na nasa government na nasa ano, na hindi talaga nagsasabi ng totoo. So, yan. Huwag tayong maging ano daw, politically fanatic. So, yun lang. Magandang araw sa inyo lahat, and maraming salamat sa panonood. So, hanggang sa muli. Thank you po. Huwag niyo kalimutan subscribe, like, and click the notification bell. Thank you!